In this part of the training we overview the EPL operators. First, we explain null values. A null value is a special marker for an absent value. EPL follows the SQL standard and supports null values. Null indicates a lack of value. Null is not the same as zero or empty string. Null is the keyword that represents a null value. For instance, consider the following pattern. This pattern output the withdrawal amount or the deposit amount. Select W.amount as withdrawal amount, D.amount as deposit amount. From pattern, brackets, every W equals withdrawal, or D equals deposit. When a withdrawal event with amount 50 arrives, the output has two properties. The withdrawal amount property is 50 and the deposit amount property is null. The null value stands for the absent deposit amount value. When a deposit event with amount 20 arrives, the output is the withdrawal amount property is null and the deposit amount property is 20. The null value stands for the absent withdrawal amount value. When an expression can return null, use is or is not to compare the value. The expression null is 0 returns false. The expression null is null returns true. The expression null is not empty string returns true. A null value, when compared with equals, not equals, or relational operators always returns null. The expression null equals 0 returns null. The expression null not equals 0 returns null. The expression null equals false returns null. Other operators also return null. The expression null plus 1 returns null. This slide and the next slide summarize most of the operators. The table lists operators in the order of precedence, with the highest precedence operator first. The minus operator applies to numeric input types. Is a unary minus. For instance, minus amount. The multiplication, division and modulo operators apply to numeric input types. For instance, account ID times 10. The two pipes operator applies to strings. Is used for concatenation. For instance, account ID pipe quotes forms. The addition and subtraction operators apply to numeric input types. For instance, amount plus 10. The bitwise AND, XOR and OR operators integer and byte input types. For instance, 1 pipe 2. The equals, not equals and comparison operators apply to any input type. For instance, amount equals 100. The like, not like, regex but not regex operators apply to strings. Are used to check whether a value matches the pattern specified. For instance, account ID like quotes %1%. The between and not between operator applies to any input type and checks whether a value is or is not within a range. For instance, amount between 10 and 400. The in and not in operator applies to any input type and checks whether a value is or is not in a set of values. For instance, account ID in parenthesis quotes 001 quotes 002. The is and is not operator applies to any input type and checks whether a value is or is not equals null or a value. For instance, amount is null. The Not operator applies to Boolean input types and is a logical not. For instance, not amount greater 400. The AND operator applies to Boolean input types and is a logical AND. For instance, account ID equals quotes 001 and amount equals 400. The OR operator applies to Boolean input types and is a logical OR. For instance, account ID equals quotes 001 or amount equals 400. The any keyword and the all keywords can check whether any values or all values match a condition. The any keyword and the all keyword can be used with equals, not equals and comparison operators. The all keyword checks whether all values match the condition. The any keyword checks whether any values match the condition. The any keyword, when used with equals, is equivalent to the in keyword. The syntax is expression operator and or all, parenthesis expression command expression and so on. The keywords are often used with subqueries and expressions returning an array or collection. For instance, the below query outputs withdrawals with an amount greater than all withdrawals in the last 10 seconds. Select from withdrawal where amount greater all, parenthesis, select amount from withdrawal at time 10. This slide discusses the new keyword. The new keyword can instantiate any object, for instance. Assume that transaction is an application object. The output, in column C, has the transaction instance. Select new transaction, parenthesis, account ID, amount, as C, from withdrawal. The new keyword can initialize an array, for instance. The output, in column C, has a double type array of length 2 and that contains the amount plus 1 and amount plus 2. Select new double brackets, curly braces, amount plus 1, amount plus 2, as C, from withdrawal. The new keyword can allocate an empty array, for instance. The output, in column C, has a double type array of length 1. Select new double brackets 1, as C, from withdrawal. The new keyword can return a map of key-value pairs, for instance. The output, in column C, is a map with the following: the account key and account ID value, and price key and a value of 2 times amount. Select new curly braces. Account equals account ID, price equals 2 times amount, as C, from withdrawal. The dot operator invokes a method on the result of an expression. The syntax is expression.method, parenthesis, optional parameters, optionally, dot and another method and parameters, and so on. This calls a single method, or a chain of methods wherein the result of the previous method is the input value of the next method. The compiler resolves methods from the expression return type, method return type and method name. The compiler ensures the number and type of parameters match the method parameter types and performs widening when required. Overloading is allowed, i.e. 2 or more methods in one class can have the same method name but different parameters and the compiler chooses the most suitable method. Any application method, Java/C# or Esper provided method is available. Examples for the dot operator are on this slide. The event property account ID is a string type value. The string class has the last index of substring and length method. See Java language Java, doc. Select account ID. Last index of parenthesis quotes x, comma account ID. Substring parenthesis 2. Length. From withdrawal event. For the second example, assume the withdrawal event itself has a method compute value. Select w.compute value from withdrawal event as w. The equality operators equals, not equals, in, and is have equality semantics and allow any type that implements hash code and equals. Arrays are supported. The comparison operators less than, greater than, less or equals, greater or equals, and between allow any type that implements the comparable interface, java.lang.comparable. The in operator allows arrays and collections among the values. The in operator allows open and closed ranges. For example, amount in parenthesis 1:9.9 to express a range that excludes the endpoints and is 1 is less than value is less than 9.9. The set of EPL operators cannot be extended as they are part of the grammar.